of all the people that we know in our business, the kind of let me give you my opinion business, I think it's fair to say he was the kindest. I mean, for real, and in private too. Even people he was really mad at, he would always say, "Well, I understand where that person's coming from." It's like, wow, his decency was a challenge to me, who struggles to be that. Why was that so offensive to people?
Because it was power. It's so much more powerful, frankly, than negativity and anger.
Yeah.
It's infectious. It's a contagion. It's like a magnet for people, whether they like him or not. They're drawn to him, and he was converting people. So he was a huge threat. That's really, I've been asking myself this question a lot over the past week. Let's take the accused shooter in this case.
Yes.
And let's say, okay, it was motivated exactly as the authorities say. And he thought Charlie was, quote, too hateful. And this is a guy who's into furries and he's into trannies and he's living with one and, all the things. Why would Charlie have been targeted by this guy for that? Why would it be Charlie? You say all the same things. I say all the same things. Most of the people in our space and in conservative or independent media say those things. Why? Why Charlie? And sadly, I think it's this factor. It's this magnetism from him, this positivity, this aura, this angel-like aura around him that was so incredibly threatening, way more threatening than the rest of us, because it was powerful and it was winning people over. It was converting people at a rapid rate, and not just any people, but young people. The people who had never been converted before, the people for whom people who talk like you and talk like me had never even tried. They weren't even players on the field. They were seeded in the whole battle. And he said, no, we're not seeding them. I'm going to start at 18 to speaking to them in a way that they can hear and understand me. And I'm going to practice it. For the past 13 years, he practiced. He went out campus after campus. In the beginning, he wasn't as good as he was in the end. He was good, but he wasn't as good. And so it was a skill he developed over time that made him more and more threatening, more and more effective. And you look at the numbers just in the presidential election. It's not an overstatement to say that Donald Trump has Charlie to thank for his election in November 2024, swinging the youth vote by 9 points.
Yeah.
We've never seen anything like it in the past 100 years. You don't swing the youth vote toward a Republican. Nothing in modern presidential politics. So he was a really integral, hugely important player, even though he was so understated and projected zero ego. So you didn't see him like that. He didn't have sort of the swagger of that in most of his public appearances. He was quick to subjugate himself to whomever he was talking to. But he was way more important than he ever let on. And I think that's why he was perceived as such a threat. That's why him saying the things others would say carried an extra layer of threat, yet both to this shooter and to Charlie's many detractors. And I just want to add, as a period to this, as a footnote, I guess, to this, Tucker, you have a lot of it too. And it is the reason why Charlie is not the only one who's been threatened or was threatened to cut ties with you or not platform you. I too have gotten that, especially since you've been more outspoken on Israel. And I couldn't care less the amount of pressure they put on. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. This is madness. Why would you want to silence such a powerful, important voice just because you disagree with them on one subject, one on which we've all watched you sincerely evolve as you grapple with principles you've been espousing for years, like America First, like what's happening to Christians, like what's best for us and our kids here? How do I keep them safe? That's my number one priority. And I've been just absolutely disgusted and recoiled from people who have tried to pressure me on it. It, of course, never happened. But I know from speaking to Charlie, he felt it too. You've heard it from Charlie that he felt, and there is a layer here of nefarious pressure to have certain narratives go only one way.
Yes.
That must be called out and must be fought.
Well, I should have said in my open that when Charlie was denounced as anti-Semitic and, quote, dangerous by the American Jewish Committee, you were too. That was a press. I don't know if you've ever even seen it. And I just remember when I read that at the time thinking, okay, these are like two of the most pro-Israel, basically pro-Israel people like on the internet. I don't understand. So maybe we should have this offline, but let's just have it now. I don't get that. Why would you attack? There are definitely people who hate Israel who are not anti-Semites. There are people who hate Israel who are anti-Semites. There's a whole range. And then there are like people who have like, religious reasons for wanting to blow up Israel. Those are all threats. Why would they be attacking you and Charlie? And honestly, I feel like me. I mean, what is that? Why attack people who are pretty reasonable, who don't want to get into a fight on the topic, who just want to like have their country thrive? Why denounce them as dangerous anti-Semites? What is that?
And let me just underscore for your audience what I had said. I mean, the sum total of what I had said when they started coming for me, just to show the absurdity of this. I had said on Piers Morgan that Israel was losing the PR war, that they had lost the Democrats and the independents and were starting to lose the Republican Party in America, and it was time to wrap it up, which was a quote from Donald Trump, who had said it a year earlier when he was still a candidate. Time to wrap it up. That's what I said about Israel. And then at Turning Point at the Student Action Summit with Charlie, we talked all about Epstein in my appearance there. It was all about Pam Bondi, frankly.
Right.
And we talked about whether he might possibly be an asset for someone. And I said he might be. And Israel, would make sense to me. Didn't know, but that's one of the things we should consider and look at. And that will conclude the list of things I said about Israel. That after 2 years of going on the air and defending them every week, turned some weird crowd into, she's an anti-Semite. So, I mean, F these people, because it's a lie. It was even more of a lie about Charlie, who had said even less than me. He had said nothing, like absolutely nothing. And they use those terms about him because he was on the other side of me when we had that discussion, and because he hosted you, and because he had the nerve to invite Dave Smith in a debate, because he allowed one side to be represented, and he had the Israel side fully represented too. So this was just such an unfair accusation. And I don't know why these very ardent advocates don't accept friendship when you offer it, when you've proven that you are genuinely a friend. I've said openly, Tucker, I don't want to debate. I'm on their side. There's no reason to put somebody on this show so they can convince me that Israel's right. I'm on their side. I agree with that. But in response to those comments, and then ultimately having Marjorie Taylor Greene on, where we criticized AIPAC. I mean, who defends a lobbyist group? They treated me like I was Mehdi Hassan. Not everybody, but like the loudest Israel defenders. And to turn around and call Charlie Kirk an anti-Semite is such a disgusting smear. And you're right, he's young. He was young and wasn't used to being attacked like that by people who supported him and people whose donations are actually really important to the ongoing existence of his organization. And it took a lot for him to say no to them. And it took a lot for him to be honest about the fact that his opinions had evolved. And let's face it, Charlie was like an unofficial spokesperson for the youth of America, in particular conservative youth. And I don't know if people have checked, but they no longer support Israel. And everybody under 30 is against Israel. Charlie was 31. And so as a friend, he's saying to them, and same way I, as a friend, am saying, I am telling you, you've lost Dems, independents, and you're starting to lose Republicans. You need to wrap it up. You've had a 2-year long leash. I know you want your hostages back, but this cannot go on until you have every hostage back. It's just not going to, you're going to lose every friend you have. And that's what he was saying, because that's what he was hearing from his constituency. And so what he did to them was brave and noble to the donors who were very, very pro-Israel. It was brave and it was noble. He did not deserve to be smeared over it. And look, I like you, have zero belief that this had anything to do with his death, but it's part of the larger narrative that you're making, that he was a truth teller, that he was a fearless truth teller, and that there were a lot of pockets when he turned to them and said those truths that grew extremely uncomfortable. And whether it was some too online, disgusting, messed up 22-year-old in Utah, or somebody who couldn't stand his messaging that was very frank around race or around Islam, whatever. Take your pick. He's said the hard truths on all of these things. I think a lot of people have to have a really ugly conversation with themselves now in the wake of his death about whether they added to the hate surrounding him.
And for Benjamin Netanyahu really tormented Charlie. We talked about it many times. He tormented Charlie, and his advocates tormented Charlie. For him to run around saying that Charlie died for Israel is just too much. It's just disgusting. And as his friend,
No,
I feel morally
that
bound to say
statement
that.
was out
Disgusting.
of line. No, I agree with you. And I never talk about Bibi Netanyahu. I don't really,
No.
I don't think much about him. I just don't. I had the opportunity to interview him a couple months ago and I declined. I'm just not, no, I just don't want to. I didn't want to platform him. I didn't actually, frankly, want to do all the work that I would have to do to sufficiently interview him in a way that would be, tough, as I do when I have any foreign leader in my crosshairs.
Yeah.
I just wasn't interested. Whatever. For him to do what he did was wrong. It was a moral wrong to sit out there and read part of Charlie's letter and try to have the final say on Charlie's pronunciations about Israel. And he knew that they weren't the full story. And he's a foreign leader. He's not an American leader. So how dare he? At best, you come out there, you say, I'm so sorry for this loss. My prayers to his family. That's it. He was out of line, Tucker. And I, as not even a Netanyahu critic, saw it very clearly and talked about it today on the show, too.